Hi everybody, welcome to this wonderful hangout with Mr. Rajiv Malhotra. We have a lot of panelists today. Among them is Arvind Kalahali, Dinesh Maheshwari, and Rutvik. So this hangout is organized by Overseas Volunteer for a Better India. Keeping in view of the 2014 elections and its undying commitment towards educating and empowering Indian citizens around the world, OVBI has organized this hangout with one of the think tanks about India, Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, to discuss India Vision 2020, resurrecting our roots. Mr. Rajiv Malhotra needs no introduction, but if some of you want to know more about him, he is an Indian-American researcher, writer, speaker, and public intellectual on current affairs as they relate to civilizations, cross-cultural encounters, religion, and science. A physicist and scientist by training, and now full-time founder-director of the Infinity Foundation in Princeton, New Jersey. He was previously a senior corporate executive, then a strategic consultant, and finally an entrepreneur in information technology and media. He also serves as chairman of the board of government of the Center of Indic Studies at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and as advisor to various organizations. Rajiv's work.
Okay, there is somebody called Samson Das saying can't join. There is somebody called Anju Shah saying I can't join. Somebody called Sujeev Kumar saying we don't know what to do. So can you please also,
Yeah, sir, I'm taking care of that.
Yeah, they will be taking care. So just to continue Mr. Rajiv's bio, Mr. Rajiv Malhotra's work analyzes and critiques Western culture, philosophy, and political discourse from the perspective of dharmic paradigm or framework. He has also authored 3 world-renowned books titled Being Different, Breaking India, and Invalid the Sacred. Mr. Malhotra's efforts are focused on finding the rightful place in history for Indian civilization and its contributions. He seeks to bring balance where the Indian historical narrative is dominated by Western voices and perspectives. I would, at this point of time, welcome Mr. Rajiv Malhotra and ask him to give us and lead this hangout.
Well, thank you everybody for this event, for joining this event. We have around 1,100 people who signed in, and many more are joining and sharing this. So we expect a fairly large number of people participating, and I'm hoping that all of you are able to join. I am still getting Rupesh Jha saying I cannot join. Shiv Kumar says I'm leaving, I cannot join. So I don't know what we may have only 1% of the people who've registered are able to join. Is there a way to tally how many people are on it? Is there a way to tell? Because I would like to not have to repeat the whole thing after people have joined. It's better to take 5 minutes and get the technology straightened out. So can you guys help us?
Yeah, Rajivji, that is being looked.
So now I'm getting calls on my cell phone. People are calling and sort of sending me texts on my personal cell phone saying what is going on. So is there a way to, should we wait and get this technology figured out, or would you like to continue, or what do you suggest?
So we would like to continue because this is being recorded. It's being recorded.
Ashish Batra says I can't join in. Shiv Kumar says I'm leaving. Rupesh Jha says I cannot join in. What's the point of doing all this? If people can't join in, let's get the technology right. I mean, I don't mind if the technology's didn't work, then we'll do it again. Then Chaitanya Srinivas says, hi Rajiv ji, room is full, so I would like to get your views on these questions later. So what do? I think nobody's there. We just talking to ourselves probably.
Rajiv, there are more than 1,000 people, so I think for their benefit, we can continue, and the video will be there. The video is there, the YouTube video, which can be circulated among all the thousands of other viewers if they could not join.
Okay, so let's assume that everybody is here, and those who are not, my apologies. We owe you. I will write an email to everyone and kind of summarize the points that we've made for the benefit of those who weren't able to join us. My basic idea that I want to discuss in this hangout is that you know, we take India's security and sovereignty for granted. We know that this is our mother, this is our civilization, but India is in serious trouble. On the surface, you know, we win cricket matches and Bollywood is doing well and some people becoming billionaires and so on. But deep down, there are some very serious problems which need to be addressed, and they are not being properly addressed. And this is why there is a risk that while at the top tier, many of us are having a good life and we're enjoying, but really deep down, the nation may be falling apart. There may be, because of corruption, because of foreign conversions going on, because of infiltrations from Pakistan and Bangladesh, because Chinese are taking over the rivers. So we have a number of threats which are unprecedented. You might say कि 5,000 साल से nobody has bothered us, we've always been there. That is not a good answer, because 5,000 साल से we have been shrinking. We used to be a much bigger nation, from Afghanistan to Bali, and all the way north from Kazakhstan and all the Tibet and all of that, all the way down to Sri Lanka. If you look at the area of Bharat in ancient times, we have about 20% left is India. 80% is gone. Land has been gone. So we are shrinking. And even the 80%, even the 20% we have is at risk, because you know, there are separatist movements. There are people who don't want to call themselves Indians. There are all kinds of things going on. So I don't think you can be very complacent and say we are very secure, because the trend has been downwards, and whenever you have a downward trend, you got to wake up and do something. Also, there were many previous occasions in history when we were fragmented and we had internal problems, but we did not have so much external threat in those days. We were isolated from the world because of the oceans and because of the mountains. We were isolated from enemies, and it was very difficult for them to come. But today, you know, any little thing that happens in one part of the world becomes instantly everybody else is participating. Like the typhoon in Philippines, everybody is involved. Whether it's you know, the events going on in the Middle East, everybody is involved. So just like this Google Hangout illustrates that things are not localized anymore, and things are not isolated anymore. So whatever the troubles are in India, everybody in the world knows. Everybody in the world can intervene. They can get involved. They can send money. They can send people. So you cannot use the same argument that we have faced these problems before, because when we faced them before, it was not the same intensity of issue like we are having today. So this is a particularly serious matter, today. That we have problems. We are not in full control of our sovereignty and destiny, because the government in place is taken us for a ride, taken us for granted, so things are not well. Things are not as kosher as we would like them to be, or as nice as we'd like them to be. So my idea of the Hangout is to take questions, go through these questions one by one, questions on why there are problems, what are the solutions, what can we people living overseas do about it. I think that is where I would like to proceed, because I've written a lot about the nature of the problems, and I invite you to read my books. One of them is, I put it right here, Being Different. If you haven't seen it, you can go to rajivmalhotra.com and you can look at how to get this book. And this is the second one, Breaking India. If you go to rajivmalhotra.com, you can see these the books and how to get them. So what I would suggest now is, since many of you sent questions to the moderators, I would like the moderators to maybe explain read out the questions, and I have a request to the moderators. Since I'm still going on getting can't join, coin join, and these are people who are posting on my Hangout website, what should I tell them to click on the website? Can the moderators?
Yeah, where are they posting, sir? Can you?
They're posting. So basically, what I would like to then do is ignore the phone calls I'm getting, because I'm getting a lot of calls on my cell phone, and start maybe answering your question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Rajiv ji. Thanks for the brief intro that you talked about.
Sure.
I think we have collected few questions from across the world. Like there are people joining in from UK, South Africa, Australia, India, US, of course, and Canada. So one of the first question that we have for you is what defines us as Indian, and why should we care about preserving our identity in this global melting pot where boundaries don't matter much now?
So this is a wonderful question. I thank you for that. It's a very important question, because a lot of our people ask, why does it matter? After all, the boundaries are going away, and on a meritocracy, I can get a job anywhere. I'm consuming iPhones and using products, and everybody else is using our Bollywood and our yoga. So how does it matter? The point is, it does matter. If you look at, for instance, you start by looking at China, which has a very strong sense of identity, a very strong sense of its history, what unifies it, and there is a collective Chinese quest for market share of world resources. China is looking after its 1.2 billion people. They're not out there looking after everybody else. So it does matter. There are boundaries, because from China's point of view, there is a very clear boundary on we the Chinese and you the rest of the world. It is very, very clear. So if 1.2 billion people, which is 1/6 of humanity, China, is concerned about boundary, is concerned about expanding itself and achieving prosperity, you can't say that boundaries don't matter, because certainly for them it does matter. Second group I would point out is Islam. Islam is very concerned about the prosperity of its own people. They may have all the fights internally, but when it comes to dealing with the non-Muslim world, it's very clear, we are the Muslims, you're outsiders. The insider-outsider difference is very, very clear to every Muslim. So I've given you two examples, and between these two, they are like 40% of the world population. If you look at the world of Islam and the world of Chinese, that's about 35–40% of the population of the world. Then you look at the West. Now the West has a very clever, a very sophisticated, identity, where on the outside it seems like they don't care, everybody is the same. At the level of popular culture, it is true. In sports and movies and dance and popular culture and art, that is true. But where the power lies, with the church, where the power lies with the NATO, where the power lies militarily, where the power lies with World Bank, with the International Monetary Fund, where the power lies, whether it is the Kshatriya power, which is political and military in the West, whether it is Vaishya power, which is corporate multinationals with their power, that is very clear. I mean, it is very clear that there is a certain point of view, there is a certain paradigm, which is the Western paradigm, and that is the one that they want to spread. That is the one which they should prevail. So I would say that before you can understand Indianness and the importance of Indianness, you should understand China's distinctiveness and why it matters to the Chinese people. You should understand Islamic distinctiveness, why it matters to the Muslim people. You should understand Western distinctiveness and why it matters to the Western people. These three are international. They're in the A league. They're in the A league. India is in the B league or C league, because India doesn't even have a sense of who we are and why it matters. So I'm glad that you started by asking that question. So my answer basically is, it matters because the rest of the world thinks that way, and we cannot change their thinking. We do not live in a world where people don't care about identity, where people don't care about the history and their background and their vested interests as a collective thing. People do care about it. Now we come from a tradition of jati, used to be a sense of localized identity. Jati was not very big. It was just a very small, geographically oriented place, a geographical community. But you can consider that the Chinese think of themselves as a big jati, they're like a super jati. And the Muslims think of themselves as a huge jati. So if you look at it from that point of view, we are surrounded by such forces in the world which are huge, which are dominating, and so we better have clarity about our own identity, and our own survival is at stake, I would say.
Okay, thanks for that answer.
So, Rajiv ji, I have a question from one of the listeners. It's like, how would we get out of our colonial mindset?
See, okay, बहुत बढ़िया बात है. Very nice. How we got into it, first we should know, and then we'll know also how to get out of it. So what happened is, when we got colonized, first of all, we got colonized twice. We got colonized by the Mughals, because they're also colonial power. They brought Turkish and Persian ideas, language, way of life, religion, and they soaked us. India was a manufacturing, manufacturing hub, manufacturing export economy. And during the Islamic period, they milked it for a good life, a lot of pop culture and music, dance, and eating. But they did not necessarily reinvest in bringing new technologies, out. So the situation is that we had two waves of colonization: the Islamic colonization, and then it was followed by the British colonization, and they brought in Western ideas. So the price we paid was, we lost our own heritage, we lost a lot of our own culture, sense of history, a lot of texts destroyed, history destroyed. And during the British period, we got reprogrammed in order to get jobs as civil servants, in order to get ahead. We are now speaking in English. So we kind of started feeling that what they are offering is superior and what we have is inferior. So if you want to understand colonialism, the first thing you must understand is the inferiority complex. Our people have an inferiority complex, that we are somehow not as good as them. During the Islamic period, everybody was trying to mimic Urdu and try to be like them and dress like them, and try to. Today it's Sufism in style, because we think that we are behaving like the conquerors and the ruling elite, the ruling elite. And then during the British time, everybody wanted to become a Brown Sahib and Bada Sahib and so on. So this is the problem, and I think that if this continues, then in the next generation, people will be imitating Chinese. They'll all be wanting to pretend like they know Chinese, they can eat with chopsticks and whatnot. I'm a very globalized guy, by the way, and I do eat with chopsticks, so there's no problem with that. It's just that I don't have to give up my own sense of heritage in order to feel comfortable with other people. The colonial mind is defined as a mind which has inferiority complex and which thinks that somebody else is superior, and so it keeps downloading apps on how to be like the British, how to be like the American, how to be like Chinese, how to be like the Arabs, how to be sophisticated like various people from elsewhere, because there's a sense of we are not good enough. And so decolonizing the Indian mind, which is a very important thing to be done, requires that we must have knowledge of our own past. We must have knowledge of the Indian traditions of science, technology, and Infinity Foundation is doing many books on these kind of things. But there's not much interest on the government to put them in the education system. For 20 years, I've been working on these things, but there's only a few people who are reading these. We must understand the contamination and the pollution that has been caused to our identity by opening the doors too wide and letting all kinds of things in at the expense of throwing our own heritage out. We've lost our language. We've lost our, Bharatnatyam dance is now becoming Christian dance. Most of the Bharatnatyam dance academies in South India particularly are being run by Christians. A lot of them are, and they're using that style, the dress, the music, the dance vocabulary to do dance about Jesus and Mary and things like that. And yoga is becoming Christian yoga. So the price we are paying for colonization is that we're giving away these kind of things, and we are not even able to understand or assert that our own assets and why these assets are valuable. So the decolonization is a very large education project. You have to think of this as education project. It is not Andolan on the streets. It is not a matter of going to the streets and revolting and all that. You have to re-educate the Indian media. You have to re-educate the Indian education system, the Indian politicians. Only then you can get rid of the colonial hang-ups among the masses. Next question.
Thank you, Rajiv Ji. The next question is, leading to something which I've already spoken in this hangout, but the question which came from one of the listeners was, what are the existential threats to India's integrity? But I would like to rephrase it saying that what would you think the three major existential threats to India's integrity? Because you've spoken a lot about all this, so if you just want to pinpoint three of them, which is
Sure, I will do that. I think that the book Breaking India talks about the Western Christian intervention and also the Western left wing. The West has got two interventions, right wing and left wing. The right wing intervention from the West is the Christian one, and the left wing intervention from the West is this whole Marxist, which is also a Western product. The West doesn't practice Marxism, but they've exported it to us. Most of these Indian Marxists and leftists are Western educated, they're Western, or a lot of their leaders are in a very elitist Western style institutions. They're funded from Ford Foundation and various Western organizations. So both the left wing and the Christian right wing is a threat that starts in the West, and this is a very serious threat. The second threat is the spread of Islam. I mean, I have no problem with Islam as a religion that some people practice, and I respect it, and people should practice it. But spreading it to others and being very kind of bully, like a bully, and being very assertive and aggressive is a wrong thing. And the trend in India is that there is a return of a whole lot of Islamization happening in UP, Bihar. In fact, if you look at North India between Bangladesh and Pakistan, east of Delhi and east of Delhi, all the way to Bangladesh, becoming highly Islamized, all the way to Bengal also, and then Assam and Northeast. So that is a huge second threat, is that. And the third threat is China, because China is taking over the northern areas which have rivers, mountains. India's northern rivers come from the mountains, and even though when the river starts, in Tibet, it may be a very tiny river. But when it enters India, the mountains are very full of snow and rain, and that is where a large amount of water comes. So there is a potential for the loss of Nepal and Bhutan and northern parts of India, Arunachal Pradesh and things like that. And Kashmir is a disputed territory. That's where also a lot of water comes from. So if you look at the disputed areas or the challenged areas in the northernmost parts of India, that is water rich. And if all that water were put into dams and piped into northwards towards China and Tibet, which is they need water very badly, this will be a great bonanza for them, but India would be devastated. So I would say these are the three major threats. But I would go beyond three. I would say that there is internal decay. It's like termites eating from within. So we have corrupt government, and this corruption of government, when people are corrupt, it's government, it's military, it's a businessman, it's media, you can buy them out. So all these three forces, external forces, they are buying people left and right. I mean, they have their own sleeper cells. They have their own people in India in important positions who will always propagate their point of view. A person like me has a very difficult time getting airtime on TV or getting coverage in the mainstream press, because there are gatekeepers appointed by these foreign nexuses whose job is to stop people like me. So that it's very difficult to get a review. Either they'll write a nasty thing, or they will just be silent and say, we are too busy, we can't help you, and give me the runaround. And I've spent 15 years trying to get into mainstream TV, mainstream newspapers. It's very, very difficult for me to do that. So I know what is going on, because I can understand the game, having played that game. Most Indians are very complacent because, they can eat well, their lifestyle is okay, and they don't see these problems because they have not gone and confronted them. And most Indians are living in a comfort zone in which it looks like, no big deal, everything will be fine. And that attitude that everything will be fine is a very dangerous attitude. That is also being propagated as part of, making Indians complacent. So when a guy like me comes, they can profile me as an alarmist, as a sensationalist, as somebody who's dramatizing and exaggerating the problems. Let me tell you, I'm not dramatizing or exaggerating the problems. When the book Breaking India came out, a lot of people said, you're dramatizing a problem. But today, they no longer say that. People who've read the book Breaking India are now writing to me and telling me that all those things you're telling us are coming out, they're happening. In fact, the problem is getting even worse. So I would say the threats are both external and internal. That's a good question you asked.
Okay, thank you. We move to the next question, and the question is about, again, we were talking about Breaking India, so it seems related there. So the question is, there seems to be some conspiracy on breaking India, may not be geographically at this point, but culturally, which is what binds India. What would be your thoughts, sir, on that?
So you see, the forces that are breaking the civilization, the Sanskriti of India, the language, culture, the way of thinking of India, the attacks are coming in many places. Attacks are coming, firstly, now Sanskrit is under attack. You may not know this, but there is, sometimes when a person, when a predator wants to eat up a prey, he will actually praise it. He will compliment it. He will say, "Arey, you're so nice. Come to my home for dinner." But his idea is to eat him up. So our people get fooled with things that are not necessarily helping us. That's why I use the term digestion. Digestion is a term I've coined where our ideas are being appropriated and mapped onto somebody else's framework, and then the Indianness of that idea is gone. So in the case of Sanskrit, for example, Sanskrit is being replaced with something called computational linguistics. So of course there's a lot of praise that it's the most computer perfect language and every Indian gets very happy. And a whole lot of funding to create a field called computational linguistics. And what they're doing is taking Panini's grammar, removing the Sanskrit and turning it into a computer engine. So in the future, you won't need to learn Sanskrit. You won't need to. People won't even know Panini what it means, who that is, and they learn some kind of a programming system and some kind of a computer engine which will have all the intelligence, all the rules of grammar and linguistics that Panini has, and so Sanskrit will be faded out. And now this property of computational linguistics will be nothing to do with India. It will be digested and become part of Western civilization. So if you look at the number of alphabets in Sanskrit, it is more than double that in English. So if you take a 26-letter alphabet and you take a much richer alphabet which has got more than double the number of letters, if you take this rich alphabet like Sanskrit and you map it and reduce it to a smaller alphabet, you lose information, you lose value. So when you take Sanskrit alphabet and you map it onto computational linguistics, what you are losing is pronunciation. Then the mantra is not pronounced properly, and then the emphasis on a particular syllable or a particular sound is gone. So this is the result of computational linguistics, and I just give you one such example, but I'm writing books on hundreds of these where our civilization is being taken apart bit by bit. There are two kinds of attacks. One is negative, accuse us, caste problem, divide us, Hindu versus Buddhist. Buddhism is not a separate thing. It is just recently created as a separate thing, but it is being presented as a separate thing. Attack our deities, attack our gurus, attack our rituals, attack our holidays, remove those holidays, attack our pilgrim sites, our tirth places, give the land somewhere else. So one is very clear attack. The other is digestion. Take what is good and keep praising the Hindus, but keep turning it into something else, something non-Hindu. The second one is far more dangerous because we are not aware of it. The first one, we notice it. When somebody comes and attacks a guru or attacks Ganesh or attacks a ritual, it is very clear what he's doing. But when somebody comes and turns yoga into Christian yoga or Bharatnatyam into Christian Natyam and so on, all these things happening, then many of our people are lost and confused. Many of our people are saying, "Arey, it's good for us because they are praising us, they're spreading this knowledge," and so on. So I would say that we really have to worry about both of these attacks. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think these are amazing insights that a lot of the people who are on the Google Hangout are getting. And I think this is going to be really, really having a lot of information about how our culture has been, digressed or, utilized. Moving to the next question, this is in the lines of, in the last recent few years, we've been going through so much plundering in the country. Do you think the Vision 2020 is a feasible time frame for India to gain its lost glory?
Okay, that's very good. So now we have to shift from what are the problems and we have to start figuring out what do we do about it. I'm very happy you are doing it in a systematic way. I'm very impressed by this. So I would say, okay, 2020 means we got like 6-7 years, right? We're in 2013.
Yes.
So I would say that this coming election is the last chance we have, because if if in this election you end up with a government which for the next 5 years continues messing up, continues insulting our civilization, continues breaking India up, continues sucking the nutrients from the culture and from the wealth of the Indians and throwing it away. If that were to happen for another 5 years, I would say it's going to be very difficult to revive such a lost case. It will be like a terminal case. So I would like people to know that, in my opinion, this election is the last chance we're going to have to do something constructive, to stop this bleeding, to stop this this loss of power and so on that we've been having as a nation, and do something to turn this around, to stop this bleeding and to revive us. So I would say that by 2020, if we haven't gotten our house in order, probably it will be irreversible. So my answer is that the vision better work, because we do not have another chance. We don't have another chance. This is the last chance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. I think at this point, I mean, you really answered one of the most important points, and the reason we have been having a series of these hangouts is to educate the masses that how important the 2014 elections are for upholding the democratic values in India, for making India go to the next level and achieve that vision of 2020. And that was the main reason of we have had hangouts with Kiran Bedi and MRV Venkatesh. So and now Mr. Rajiv Malhotra. So to
OVVI's work. The next question is leading to something similar. We know we need to do something about it now. So how can we unite NRIs for causes affecting India, and what can they do strategically sitting here in USA or any other part of the world to strengthen India? That's the first part of the question, Rajivji. And the second part of the question is, according to you, who can be the uniting figure for NRIs in the US that can bring them all together on one platform?
Well, the first question is a very important one. That you're sitting somewhere else, you're not necessarily registered to vote. Many people may not even be citizens able to vote, and some, of course, are able to vote. Those who are able to vote, who are still citizens, should exercise that right. There are ways of voting if you are not, as long as you have an Indian passport, and you should exercise that right. But whether you are able to vote personally or not, you should certainly make sure that in your family, in your community, in your baradari, your neighborhood, you are exerting influence to getting them to register. Because a large number of Indians are very complacent. This is a very bad Indian habit. I'll tell you, one of the very bad Indian habits we people have is that we think somebody else will solve this problem. I'm busy, how will my vote be so important? Whenever I'm in Delhi, and I'm there 4 or 5 times a year, any time people are complaining, I always look around the room and say, did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? Tell me, did you vote? And they all say no. I'll say, then you do not have a right to complain, because you are upset with the result and you're not willing to do your part of it. If you have voted and then your candidate lost, at least I'll believe that, okay, your anger is justified. But if you did not even do your bit, so this is the thing you have to educate our people, especially the well-to-do, well-educated people. They don't go out and vote because they're busy with life, and they think it's a very crowded place, long line, and a lot of these people from Juggi, Jhompri, and all these guys are coming, and knocker and driver is going to vote. Why should they stand in line with them? This is very bad, because it is your nation. So I think this idea that one of the things that America has is the voter drives, voting. They have all these drives that various political parties do, online and in shopping malls and here and there. I think if you were to educate your friends and family in India that this is a very important thing in a democracy, that the people who are the elite should not just go out and vote and set an example, because that rich man standing in line will inspire 100 other local guys who are looking up to him as a role model, that they should also go and do this. He's standing there, whether it's raining or not, he's standing there and he wants to vote. It's a matter of national pride. People should go, and people should celebrate the elections as a right and as a responsibility. So this is kind of a shift in people's thinking that we have to bring. And I'm doing my best. I'm going to go to India and spend all of January there, and then probably go again in March, April, to go around giving talks on all kind of things. So the second thing that I think sitting here you can inspire people to do is that they have to fight for transparency. Part of the problem is Indians are not fighting for transparency. It is sort of assumed like there is a corruption wherever you go. You know, I've had these experiences. Wherever you go to do any transaction, and you want to do it perfectly legitimately, perfectly in a law-abiding way, but you have every obstacle because somebody wants a bribe, and you say, okay, chalo de do. I think you have to create a counter, thinking, a different alternative thinking, where people are going to resist this, and people are going to say, I will not give you the bribe. Who are you to want this bribe from me? So you want ideals to be embodied by our young people, and so people in this country can inspire that. You can also inspire, you can also create all these hangouts. We can have these hangouts not only for people based in the US, but we can change the time frame. I'm more than happy to get up in the middle of the night, because I do a lot of work all the time anyway. I'm happy to get up at 3 in the morning or whenever you want me to, and have a hangout. And majority of the people who follow me are actually in India. I would say 80% of the people who read my books and watch my YouTubes, I keep track of these statistics, are India based. So I'm more than happy to do all that. So I feel that once people, and then another thing we have to do is create a sense of urgency, almost to the point of desperation, that we are being taken to the cleaners, and this is not business as usual. This is the final election. You'll either create a government which is going to bring stability and get rid of all the corruption and foreign money and all that, or it's going to get further worse, and it will go reach a point of no return. So those are my ideas, that the people living in this country have to inspire and fund and organize voter drives, voter registration and voter turnout drives. Maybe on the day of election you got to use social media and send them text messages. Maybe in every neighborhood somebody should be in charge of reminding his people, his friends, maybe organizing some transportation, maybe saying, okay, at such and such time all of us will go as a group and vote. It should become a matter of pride. It should also be, sitting here, we can teach them the importance of demanding transparency. We can teach them the crisis, the world crisis, in which India is in pretty bad shape right now compared to many other countries, because of huge population and huge dependency on rainwater, monsoons and so on, and a large amount of its wealth being drained out and a lot of fragmentation of the political parties. So when you put all of these together, plus the 3 external threats I talked about, India has got a lot of serious problems. And so our job, the best we can do sitting here, is to constantly hammer these. And I tell you, I am now noticing some difference among the very snobbish, arrogant Delhi elite that I know. When I go there, they call me, invite me. And for last 20 years, they would not listen to these things. They would not pay attention to these things. A lot of them, my family, would not pay attention to these things. They would mock at me and figure out what's wrong with me that I'm pursuing all these things. But I've noticed in the last year, there is a change in thinking. People are getting concerned. People are, now the elite of India are beginning to realize that things are not all that stable and all that solid. They cannot sort of take it for granted. So there is an opening. There is an opening also among youth. I used to find that 10-15 years ago, it was very difficult to get invited to a college, because the college students were very busy with other things. Now there's more invites than I'm able to accommodate, because the young people are very concerned. And so I would say that the timing is right, and there's some kind of a wave that is coming towards awakening people. So we have to keep pushing like that. Now the second part of the question is is not so easy. That is, who should unite us in the US. The problem is, the moment you name one, it will create a problem. So somebody will say, okay, friends of BJP or VHP, and then there'll be others who will then get alienated. Some religious guy, then the others will get alienated. So my feeling is that I personally have decided that I would support Narendra Modi. I support Narendra Modi as the candidate for me. And to me, That's the unifying force. That is the unifying, person. And each person has to decide for themselves. I can't tell what others should do, but this is my choice. And this is not based on any party. It's the man. It is the vision of a man. And if we had a presidential system, then the party would not even matter. You would vote for the person. So I would say that getting Modi elected, getting him into office, getting a strong government, and transparency, accountability, all of those things are the solution. So whoever is supporting the right solution, we should follow. Whatever the religious group may be, whether they're political, whether they're civil organization, whether it's a corporate group, under whatever banner, I don't think we can ever convince Indians, at least in the near future, to come under a common banner. So they can use whatever banner they want, but that's the outcome, quite honestly, that I would like to see.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajiv. It was a great answer.
Go a long way. And also, there are 23 million NRIs across the world, and if everybody can make just 10 calls, we can go a long way, and it can influence the voter registration, voter turnout process. So thank you very much for propagating that. That takes me to the next same question, the same lines. What type of projects the 23 million NRIs should take worldwide to bring out patriotism in people back home?
See, this is an important point, because while we are located outside India, our heart is still in India. That is why we are here doing this hangout. And I'll tell you, the NRIs need guidance and leadership, but their heart is in the right place. They certainly love India. So there are many things that we can do, and a lot of it has to do with education. I go to these gatherings where they're loaded with money, but they don't really know what to do with it. So they waste it. Some of them send it to some organization in India. By the way, the marketing by these missionary organizations, Christian missionary organizations, among NRIs is extremely good in terms of effectiveness. I have so many people who blindly are just sponsor a child program, put $30 a month, or feed the hungry, whatever. So under the guise of doing some good, a lot of these organizations are raising tons of money, and a few of them I've named in the book Breaking India, but there's lots more. We do not have as large a scale of and as effective a fundraising mechanism for causes that are patriotic and for our own Sanskriti and our own civilization. So I think one of the things we can do is also lobby with the media, the mainstream Western media, or whichever country you're living in, to carry more stories, by our kind of voices, because it's very difficult. I cannot get into New York Times or Washington Post or CNN no matter what kind of how well my argument is and what I'm writing. But some, Pankaj Mishra type guy who wants to write that Hinduism is a fraud and it doesn't really exist and it's all about abuses and whatnot, it was invented by the British. I mean, he'll get one story after another in New York Times. So our people also need to lobby that public opinion matters. We do have intelligent, educated, good writers and good speakers. They ought to be given a voice. So we have to lobby for the right things. And then we have to lobby for a better portrayal in the education system in this country. I started all this because 2 decades ago I looked at all the school material and I found it was quite lousy. It's bad in India. It's even bad in the U.S. Education system, the portrayal of our culture. So there are many points where a serious NRI can get active, can start taking. But the first thing that the serious NRI has to do is to make a decision that this is important to him. He will turn it into a major project in his life, just like he's got many other ventures. He's very busy. So this is part of his portfolio right at the top. And he's going to allocate a certain amount of time, a certain amount of financial resources. He's going to allocate a certain amount of his contacts. And once he decides that he's going to do that, people are smart and they will come up with many ideas and they can join us. I mean, my foundation has many projects. People are most welcome to join us, and we have need for funding. We have need for support. So those who are looking to help can contact me. And by the way, I'll just tell you, for those who want to reach me, you go to rajivmalhotra.com, and there is a contact click. You can click there and contact. There's also a button to click, and you can buy any of our books on our Amazon store. Or if you're in India, you want to buy in India, there's a way to click and you buy them in India. So that's how I would say you can stay in touch with me.
So anyway, coming back to the Hangout, I mean, I think all of us are more educated about what's been going on in India, about our civilization and culture through this Hangout with Mr. Rajiv Malhotra. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that.
I just want to say one thing, that the Hangout team will send me the email list of everybody who registered, and I want to send them all a personal thank you note, and also a list of 4 or 5 main points that we made. Within the next couple of days, as soon as I get the email list, I will send that out, because I want to appreciate the time people have taken. We have about 1,300 people registered for the conference call for this Hangout, and probably